Well, good morning again. I was going to turn this thing, here's the nut that was on it in the old shaft, or not the old shaft, the other milling machine shaft I had. Now, what this paper here we're looking at, this is power feeds, and this, you look in this column here, you see threads per inch. This nut here was 8 threads, and it tells me what gears I need. I need a 32, a 72, and a 32, and it gives you what the diagram looks like. Well, guess what? I don't have two 32 gears. I do have a 32 and a 34. I believe that's what I got, 32 and a 32 and a 36. So what I've got here is 9 threads an inch. I've got the right eyler and everything. So instead of 8 threads an inch, I'll have 9 threads an inch. Now what I'm going to do is just take another bar and put it in here and make a little test pass, and then measure and see what I actually do have. Alright, I've got a little test bar I was fooling around with here. It's not really clamped in or anything, just a tool pressure is holding it, so it may stick, but I just want to make a little mark on this shaft. And this is an odd number. I've got my threading dial engaged and set up, and I'm just going to go for the same number every time on an odd number of threads. But the first thing I'm going to do is see if I can. I've got it slowed down pretty good. I'm just going to bring it in until it touches off here. Alright, well, it's taking a little tiny cut, and I'm going to go down here and wait till the one comes around and engage the feed. There's the one, and it's cutting a nice thing here. I'm going to go right there to the end of that just for the fun of it. So, well, it looked like it cut a pretty good thread there. I don't know how well this camera's focusing or anything. Yeah, you can see it. Now I'm going to just measure this with a thread gauge and see what it really is. Well, according to the calculations, it was supposed to be 9. And I put my little 9 thread gauge on there, and it's lining up. So 9 it is. Now on just this one little test piece, I'm using a little tiny insert there that seemed to do pretty good as far as cutting the thread. On the 8 threads per inch, it's pretty small, and that is the correct 60-degree angle. So I'm going to try to cut a couple more threads on this little test piece and see what this thing is going to look like. First, I'm going to cut me a relief here if I can. I don't want to go to all the trouble of putting a driving dog on it. Alright, I've used my little threading fish here on that insert. I've got it just as good as I can get it. I think it's going to be good enough for a big old coarse thread bolt. And then we're going to go over to this area here and make a scoring pass across that, and see if we can thread this thing to 9 threads an inch. Alright, well, I've been fooling with this for quite a while. I've got it where it's right thread pitch, but if you can see down in the bottom there, one time it kind of jammed on me and I changed some stuff, so I've got to figure out where that first right hand thread was started and then plunge straight in on that to see if I can clean these threads up. They're almost at depth, so I'm pretty close to, I ain't got no more room to make mistakes here. And here's my 9 thousandths or 9 threads per inch gauge, and I'm looking at it. It really looks pretty good to me. Got just a little bit of room at the top of the threads here. I think I'm going to take 1 more thousandths off of this and see if that helps it any. Alright, well, I got this cut pretty good. I've just need to clean some of the junk out of it. It don't look too bad, especially for my first attempt. And I'm not sure that these even carbide inserts are really even any good for that. I think they got too big of a radius in the bottom. But basically, if I can get this nut that I got to make now to fit, all it's got to do is put some pressure here. It's not like this has got to be anything real critical. So that's the next thing, is to pull all this out of here and get me a piece of steel and bore it to, I suppose I'd figure out how big I have to bore the hole. Less than 1 inch, because the outside diameter here is 1 inch, and then figure out some way of making a threading tool out of a boring bar and trying to thread me a nut here for this 9 threads per inch setup. Alright, I found a piece of something else, or a piece of soft steel that I was going to turn for something else. It's about the right size, and so I'm just going to bore this out to the right size to thread. I've got a little carbide boring bar there. Now, what am I doing? I'm going to take off, there's 3 thousandths. Yeah, it's cutting 3 thousandths really well. Just so it hits the holes inside, which interrupt its cut. But it's just a matter of have to do this by hand, because my feed is still set up at 8 threads an inch. A couple little passes through here. As long as I get it to about the right size, it'll be okay, because I'm just going to cut threads in it anyway. Well, after all that trouble of making a shaft to 9 tooth or 9 pitch, I found a 32 tooth gear here. Means that I can use this 8 thread nut. This came about because I was trying to find something I could cut an internal thread with. I don't have a single tool I'd have to braze one up, and I don't really have any way to braze it. So I thought I had another gear somewhere. I just didn't know where I put it because I moved everything. But now I found the gear, so I'm going to have to waste about 1 inch of shaft, but that's the way it goes. I'll bring you back when I got that done. Now there's a difference. That's a 36 tooth, and that's a 34 tooth. 32 tooth. So 4 teeth difference makes a 9 thread. This is the one I want here. So all I have to do is it's just this one shaft right here. Stick it on there and adjust everything up, and I should be ready to cut 8 threads. Well, make a long story short, played around with that. I learned a lot. One thing is everything has got to be very, very firm. It looks like it's going on pretty good. Up to right there. Might have a little nick in that thread. Turn around the other way. Yeah, it's hitting right there. I think I want to just throw this back in the lathe and just kind of clean this inside edge up here a little with a thread file and try it once more. Well, here we go. After a long, semi-interesting day, I put that back in and took another 2/1000 off of it. But screws on fine. Of course, my first mess up here was because I couldn't find my gear, so I lost 1 inch. But there's my threads I cut. Try to zoom in on them here. They look pretty good. No rough spots. Seem to be holding well. Well, obviously they'll hold well, but they're plenty smooth. And, you know, I left the right amount of distance in here to for this nut's got a stop place on it, and it goes right over the shaft there. Stops. I got plenty of room here. I'd figure out something to do with this overarm support. I had a couple ideas. One of them was to put a bearing in here like this. Have it turn this shaft to where it'll fit the inside of this little bearing. And I've got something out of an old live center. I don't see it here now, but here it is. See this? There's a Morse taper too, and it'll go in there. I can machine that to hold the bearing, and then come on, this one-handed stuff don't work too good. Put my hand back here. But anyway, there's the basic idea. This is actually holding in there just from friction. That would be obviously better than a live center. it would control the vibration and the up and down to some degree. I've got so much shaft here that I'm going to have to cut off 3/4. I'm going to go ahead and try various things. That'll be the first one, just machine this shaft down to where it'll fit the inside of this little bearing here, and machine this old Morse taper here to where it'll hold the OD of the bearing, and we'll give that a go. Of course I don't have any cutters right now, but at least I've got a good arbor at this point. So that's kind of the end of part 2 of the arbor, and I know I didn't show a lot of things I did on threading and stuff like that, but you know, there's a lot of guys out there, you know, that got a lot better videos than me of exactly how to do it and everything else. My whole deal was just trying to get this old milling machine up and some parts made for it that'll work, and make one piece. I'm going to make a lathe stop and put that on eBay. That'd be the whole project purpose here for right now. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this, and watch for my next video. Bye bye.